And welcome to the Metal Mixtape here on KSKQ 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, 94.1 FM Medford, Oregon, stream online on kskqdjramo. It's the boy, it's the Don DJ Ramo on the line. I have the honor and absolute privilege to be talking to Dan Lorenzo from Patriarchs in Black, and we're going to be talking about his new album, Vision. What is up, my brother?
Man, you sound happy to hear from me. I got to get your energy. Everything is good. Patriarchs in Black. We just released our third album, Visioning. 3 albums in 3 years. And for those listeners of yours who don't know, Patriarchs in Black is me on guitar, Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative, and Danzig on drums. And then we use different singers and bass players on every song. People like Carl Agell from Corrosion of Conformity Blind, Kyle Order, Mark Sunshine from Unita, and even DMC from Run DMC.
Dude, that's freaking. I was gonna ask because there is some hip hop in this album, which honestly, this album is like all over the place. But honestly, my favorite albums to listen to are albums that don't stick to the same recipe, and I do love how dynamic Everywhere is on this album.
Yeah, I mean, I really am into it. You know, in my whole life, I've been in bands like Hades and Nonfiction, and even in The Cursed and Vessel of Light, where people are like, man, I love your riffs, but I don't really love the vocals. So Patriarchs in Black, you know, there's a different singer pretty much on every song. So if nothing else, it keeps things interesting.
I love it, man. I love it. You mentioned all those names that you had on this album. Do you think 12-year-old Dan would be surprised to see the type of life you're living now and like people you're collaborating with? Did you always feel like you had like that? You know, this is what I always say, man, in life is like there's people that like music and there's people that love music, man. Did you always know that you loved music when you were younger?
I did. And I was thinking back the first time I heard Rock Box when I used to unload trucks at Macy's, and some of the black guys would tell me like, hey man, there's this hip hop band, this rap band that they use like electric guitars you might like. And I remember hearing Rock Box, and now it's so funny, like, you know, the last text I got was 20 minutes ago from DMC. You know, we're in constant contact now, and we've become friendly. But yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I went through a period of my life after my father died when I was 19, where I moved out, and I was the poorest person that you've ever met for like 10 years. Where, like, I couldn't even, on my 31st birthday, I couldn't find a quarter for a bagel, so I broke down and got a job, you know, after I came home from touring Europe. And, you know, now I have a great life. I'm happily married, and, you know, I got 3 records out with Patriarchs in Black, and things are good. I mean, somehow, like, I'm in the new issue of Goldmine magazine. I got a 4-page feature in the last issue, Rock Hard Germany, which is, like, the most influential magazine for metal in Germany, and, like, things are moving, so yeah, it's fun. It's a good time right now.
Dude, that's incredible, dude. You know, you were talking about how, like, you know, you broke down, you just got done touring, and you barely had enough money to even eat. Like, what do you think the biggest lesson for you was transitioning from just somebody who just plays music in bands to somebody who goes into like the touring life? Like what is the one challenge you think that nobody talks about?
Well, it's weird, man. Like, so I was always afraid to do drugs, and I never had the taste of alcohol. So for me, touring was really weird because, I mean, picture you're the whole band sleeps till like 3 p.m, and you're the one guy who's up at 9 o'clock with the crew. It was kind of a lonely life to a certain extent because, I mean, you know, your buddies are sleeping till 3 and your other buddies are working, you know. So I was kind of on my own a lot. But I guess just, I'm, you know, looking back, not to sound corny, but I'm just so happy I never tried heroin. I never tried cocaine. I was like always the straight guy, you know. And I'm just so happy that, you know, because of that, I was able to land on my feet. You know, I mean, I'm 61 years old now. I play basketball. You know, yesterday I was playing with guys. I'm guarding guys who are like 30 years old. You know, so I don't feel 61. You know, and I just, that's like not really a secret, but, you know, everybody knows don't do drugs. I'm just so happy I didn't do it.
No, hey, that's incredible, man. That's incredible, and I'm happy how far you've came, and I'm also happy that, like, you know, you've lived a lot of your dreams. You're still living the dream, and you're happily married. And has it been a transition ever since you got married to like want to play shows and continue the music life? Because the thing is, it's like, from experience, I know how demanding it is. You know, because it's like, even right now, like, you're a musician, you're writing the album, you're you're doing interviews all day. I've been talking to other musicians who talk about like, nowadays in this day and age, it's like you almost have to be your own like promoter, and you almost have to be like a public figure because there's so many platforms. Like, how do you find time to balance it all?
Fortunately for me, I've always felt like I could do 90 minutes worth of work in 60 minutes. I move really quickly.
Yes.
Some people have laughed at me. Some people tell me to slow down. So they're like, hey, man, do you take any time to smell the roses? And I do. I just smell them a little quicker than the next guy. Because my mom, when she was pregnant with me, she used to drink six cups of coffee a day.
Whoa.
So I'm lying usually. I'm like moving. I have a hard time sitting. But, it's all about what you want. Like you said, you almost have to be your own publicist. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable promoting themselves and, doing social media. And I'm not going to tell you I'm a Facebook guy, but I'm on Instagram all day. And just getting the DMs from people is really nice. And it's also like a funny way. Like, I never met Kyle Thomas from the band Exorder. And a year ago, I sent him a DM. I'm like, hey, man, would you want to sing a song for us on the next Patriarchs in Black album? It's like you have access to things you never had to. So people always diss social media. But there's some good things about it, too. But I think I probably forgot your original question. But I'm happy talking to you, and I'm glad you're into the album, brother. And I like what you said about the diversity. We got a blues song. It's called, I wrote a song called Whiskey on My Mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I don't drink. I don't like the taste of whiskey, but that's just what I heard in my head, and that's what comes out. And that's what's like songwriting for me is all about. I don't need to get inspired. I don't need to get influenced. I just write, and sometimes I even hear things in my head. And that's what Patriarchs in Black is all about, is, trying some different things. I mean, we're not going to play disco music or jazz, but we're open enough to, if you want to have, what does it sound like when DMC from Run DMC sings with pretty much a doom band? It's something different, right? Every song sounds a little different.
It's funny you said blues and doom, because for Whiskey on My Mind, I literally called it blues doom.
Yeah, exactly. I tell people who haven't heard, it's like if Stevie Ray Vaughan was a crappy guitar player like me, and he tuned down. It's definitely the odd song on the album, other than maybe the viola at the intro. But we're just trying to do. We're not. If I write a song that doesn't sound like a typical Patriarchs in Black song, that's okay, because Johnny and we don't want to, box ourselves in where we can't do some things outside of the norm.
No, I love it, man. I love it. When one of my questions for you is like, you've been playing music for a long time now, and this is the third album for Patriots in Black. Like when you write an album, do you write an album having a theme with it, or are you trying to write an album like emotionally based, where these songs come randomly at a time, or do you just say, okay, there's an album that we're going to write out, and then I'm just going to go write it?
No, I just write, and what I do is I don't wait till I finish the album. Like I'm going to record 2 brand new songs tomorrow night, actually, up in my buddy's studio where I do all my records, J-Rod Productions in Pomona, New York. So I don't have any like preconceived notions. Like this one song I wrote is in a major key. This other one is has some weird 3rd and 7th harmonies. It's just like I didn't think, oh, let's write a song with harmonies from the 3rd and the 7th. It just happens. So I don't like to think too much about writing. It just happens organically, and to me, that's like a much healthier way to write. I have no pressure on like, the world isn't dying for the 4th Patriarchs in Black album. We got to sell more of Patriarchs in Black visioning. But so I just write when I write, and then I go record it pretty quickly, because that's when it's the most, exciting to me. And unlike the old days where you have to go to the recording studio and wait for your drummer to do the perfect take, now I just play along with the click track, and I pretty much finish the song guitar-wise, and then I send it to Johnny Kelly.
That's badass. Yeah, it's definitely, music's came a long way now, where like it's so easy just to jump into a studio now and just record and knock out tracks. It's like right now there's so much music out. It's incredible. But that makes me happy to hear, man, that you're constantly on the grind, and you're constantly writing out new music. I've been playing in music myself. I've been singing and playing guitar for almost 21 years now. Like I always found it more trouble to write lyrics that are like meaningful than it is to write music sometimes. Like as you've grown, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
So as you've grown up through your life, like what kind of influences are you pulling? Because I know, like, I've tried it before where, like, I've tried to just, like, write a story off the top of my head or something, or try to find some influence, but I've always found it easier to write off of, like, emotions, like, things I really feel. Like, where do you, like, now that you're, you know, like, you went through your tour life, you know, you're happily married, and right now you're doing great, like, what kind of influences are you pulling when you do want to add the lyrics?
So this really weird thing happens where I wrote it. So I have a Jesus tattoo, and I go to church every week, right?
Rock and roll.
I'm in my car, and I wrote a song, and I hear the lyrics in my head, "Sing for the devil." I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't want to sing for the, like, what does that mean? And then I put a question mark on it, and I said, you know what? It's gonna be. I'm just, these words pop into my head with no really preconceived notion. I just hear these lyrics, and I'm like, oh, this is the classic song about a guy going down to the crossroads, and the devil wants to sell him to purchase his soul for, you know, eternal fame and riches. But this guy's going to turn the devil down. So, like, lyrics just pop into my head, like, for my veneration, and also the song "Whiskey on My Mind." I don't drink, but just the lyrics, they just come naturally. I hear them. I hear, you know, whether it's violin parts, which is 2 songs with a violin, and most of it's heavy stuff for people who haven't heard it. But it's like most of the lyrics on most of the albums are done by the singers. But when I have had to write lyrics because the singer couldn't think of any, or I just wanted to, it just pops into my head. You know, it's like I don't really have an influence. I keep listening to my music in the car, and then lyrics just pop into my head, basically.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, that made me want to ask another question on top of that
Sure.
is when
Sure.
you do bring in a singer, do you give them ever a direction you want them to go, or is it free reign?
Free reign, and then maybe a couple times has happened where we didn't like what the singer thought of. For the most part, though, I always tell the singer, like, look, if you can't think of a melody and lyrics, I have some ideas in my head. And they always say, no, hold off, let me see what I come up with first. And pretty much they've come up with, like, the goods, really good stuff. There's a couple times where from the first album, Patriarchs and Black Reach for the Scars, I wrote the song "This Damn War" because Ukraine was just getting attacked by Russia, and I was actually reading a book about Lincoln, about the Civil War, when the war in Ukraine broke out. So, like I said, sometimes lyrics pop into my head, and I wanted to show the singer, like, look, here's what I came up with. But usually I give them free reign.
Is there ever a limit? Is there ever something they can't sing about? Like, you say, like, hey, do whatever you want, but just don't do this.
You know, when I had a band called Vessel of Light with a Satanist called, his name is Nathan Opposition. He's in the band Ancient Wisdom, and their first ever tour was opening up for Ghost, and he had only written, you know, devil lyrics. And I said, like, man, just write about anything except for that, if you don't mind. And then he's like, well, what should I write about? I said, how about, like, you know, my wife and I love the TV show Forensic Files. So he's like, he wrote all the lyrics about true crime, and it was like real. I don't know if you ever heard Vessel of Light, but it was like really gruesome lyrics.
Yeah.
But you know, with my guitar, and just, I didn't want him to write with the devil. That's the only, like, I don't want to write. I mean, I probably would shy away from politics because nobody wants to hear a band preach, you know. So, but there's pretty much nothing that would be taboo lyrically other than that.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Yeah, like, you know, we talked about how, like, the album has some violin. You know, definitely a lot of violin in Entry, and a lot of violin in Birth, which Birth is just a beautiful instrumental. Like, you know, I felt like, you know, like we were talking how, like, it was like I almost call it like some doom rock, some doom metal, some doom blues. Like was added in, like, violins and, like, an instrumental, like, was that, like, something you added towards the end, or is that something you envisioned while you're writing the songs?
Yeah, so with the song Entry, the way that starts off the record, which is not really even a song, it's just like a little opening piece. I hear something, I hear a melody line in my head, and I go upstairs to my loft and I figure it out on guitar. I play it on guitar, and I'm like, man, that's disappointing. In my head, it sounded so much better. And then I'm like, why is it not translating? And then I realized, because it's a violin, you know, or at least I think it's a violin. And then I send it to this guy who played viola. It would sound perfect on a viola. So I'm like, well, I don't know the difference, but let's do it, man, you know? So again, it's nothing preconceived. It's just like trying to figure out what you hear in your head and translate that to the recording.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, I know. Birth is one of my favorite songs. A Few Good Men's one of my favorite songs. Whiskey on My Mind. I have 5 favorite songs. Welcome to Hell Again and Low Price. All the songs are badass, by the way. But I definitely did enjoy a lot of the rapping that was going on in the songs, and Welcome to Hell Again was super badass. I'd probably have to say that's my favorite song on here.
That's a guy named Kelly Abe from Resection Music. Resection is the name of the band. And he was on the Ozzy Osbourne TV show Search for the Next Ozfest many years ago. And then DMC from Run DMC, who I'm writing a lot with on the side as well. He's on Welcome to Hell Again.
That's badass, man. I totally, when I was listening to that song, the hook was super catchy. So I was like, this is definitely a song like you could hear like the crowd going nuts for.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it was sick, man. I always get my son to bed before I listen to albums.
Right.
And I like doing it the old-fashioned way, man. You know what I mean? I play every song all the way through. I sit down and just try to enjoy it. You know, I feel like nowadays in music, it's like nowadays like there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm 35, but even when I was like 12 or 13, like getting the record and sitting there and reading the lyrics was like my favorite part ever, man. So anytime I get an album, especially an album like yours, man, it's always a pleasure to listen to. And I hope people out, I hope I get to help out enough where you get some new listeners.
I would really appreciate that. And I like what you said about, like, I really think the Patriarchs and Black Album, our new album Visioning, works as an album. The Patriarchs and Black Album, our third album Visioning, you can listen to individual songs, but I think it works really well as an album, listening to it from beginning to end. You know, I think it works as an album, and I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, absolutely, man. I wouldn't listen to it any other way, man. Because the thing is, it's like, entry and birth, entry, birth, and even ending with Visioning, it wouldn't have, I feel like, there's a story with the album, so it's like, your track placements were perfect, so I think if I would have listened to it any other way, I would have still liked it, but I would have been like maybe thought about it different,
Right.
I like listening to the old school way.
I agree, man. I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate the support.
Of course, brother. For anybody listening, Patriarchs and Black with their new album Visioning, please go check that out. We're going to be playing some of their music here on the radio. For the last portion of the interview, could I ask you a bunch of fun questions?
Yeah.
All right, so this question I thought of in our interview. It's you brought up that you play basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan. I listen to sports radio 4 or 5 hours a day. So I've been watching basketball since I was a kid. What are you thinking about the Olympics right now and how the U.S. men's basketball team's doing?
I haven't been paying a lot of attention, but it looks like they're winning, and it looks like they're doing well. I saw LeBron got roughed up the other day, right, in the face. And I love Devin Booker. I think he's really become one of my favorite players in the NBA. I'm a Knicks fan, and I'm actually glad none of the Knicks are playing in the Olympics because I don't want them to be tired and injured when the season starts at the end of October, which is coming up quickly.
Hey, is it so? My dad lives in New Haven, so I go to New York sometimes.
Right.
I live in Oregon, but when I go visit him, is Knicks Nation as big and as crazy as people say it is?
I think it is, man. I mean, outside the Garden after winning the playoffs was crazy. I just saw it on TV, but I tell you, because of Jalen Brunson, I think, and the way the Knicks play this summer, was the most excited the New York metro area has been about the Knicks in a long time.
Oh, yeah, and DiVincenzo, he's also.
Yeah. I mean, the players are likable. They seem like nice guys. They love each other. They're friends, like truly friends. A lot of them, So it was a fun season. I mean, the injuries killed us in the end. But what's your favorite NBA team?
I'm a Laker fan.
Okay.
But for me, I like competitive basketball.
Yeah.
So, when I started watching, it was during the Bulls run, the Shaq Lakers, the David Robinson and Tim Duncan Spurs, right. The LeBron Heat, the Steph Warriors, and I thought Jokic and Denver was going to repeat at least, but that kind of fell through.
Yeah, so 7 years ago, my wife and I were in Hawaii for our 20th anniversary, and my wife noticed a big, tall guy in the lobby walking around the pool. It ends up being Julius Randle, and I talked to him. He was on the Lakers at the time, and I said, "Man, you got to come play for New York." And he's like, "No way, man, no way!" Like, and now he loves New York. It's funny, man, how things happen. And you saying you're a Lakers fan, I remember thinking, like,
yep.
I had to Google. I'm like, who is this guy, Julius Randle? I never heard of him.
That's badass, man. Yeah, it's awesome you play basketball. I'll sometimes go out to the court and I'll work on my jump shot, but I shoot like crap.
Yeah, I'm not the best. I'm like hot and cold, but I run around with people your age or even younger sometimes. So that's just, I'm proud of myself that I can keep up a little bit,
Yeah, no, that's badass. That's badass. So, you've listened to a lot of eras of badass music, and now in this era, like, is there any new bands that have recently came out in like the last 10 years that you're a huge fan of?
I mentioned Kelly Abe from Resection Music. Resection, I should say, is the name of his project. He just has a few things on Spotify now. What's that band, Billy Berger? There's a band, like Rickshaw, something like, I can't think of their name right now.
Yeah, I forget.
But that, that name that has the Rickshaw and Berger in there, I know they were cool. But I pretty much listened to the stuff I grew up on, the old Kiss, old Aerosmith, Bon Scott era AC/DC, and then I'll check out. I listened to Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. In fact, in the new issue of Goldmine magazine, I have 10 albums that changed my life. There's Geezer Butler's on the cover, and
awesome.
I mean, like a lot of different things, honestly. Like, but even like hip hop, like Dr. Dre and Eazy-E and Ice Cube, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's badass. That's if there was one thing you'd be doing if you let's say like when you're growing up you never did music, what would be the one other thing you'd be doing if you never became a musician? Where do you think your life would be?
I originally wanted to be a baseball player and something in advertising. I always liked selling advertising. I was a straight commission salesperson for years, and that was fun. But yeah, I guess as long as you marry your best friend, I mean, your job should be something you don't hate. But I mean, obviously being an NBA basketball player would be out of the question. But that would have been something like fantasy.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. What is one thing besides music and basketball that you think you're good at?
Wow, there's not much else. Selling. Selling, I guess. I'm a good salesperson. I work for a company called Painful Pleasures. We sell tattoo supplies, and I make a pretty decent red sauce.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that's awesome. Where do you you said you've toured before. You played obviously a lot of shows. Do you have a favorite town or favorite country that you think brings the best fans, the meanest, most energetic fans?
I mean, playing New York City was always a rush, but I mean, I got to give it to Germany. The festivals in Germany, they're organized really well, and the fans, whether you're the first band or the last band, the fans are there for the whole time. So the German festivals are awesome. But I remember some of the best shows of my life were like in Houston and Raleigh, North Carolina. But New York City is always a rush. It was always like, wow, like right before you go on stage, your mouth almost gets completely dry because it's like people are watching and they're almost ready to jump on anything they see that's imperfect or if they make a mistake. But fortunately, I've had pretty good shows in my career in New York.
I love it. I love it. A lot of people say don't meet your heroes. Have you ever met one of your musical heroes and they turned out to be either really great or not what you expected?
Ace Frehley was less than great. That wasn't really great meeting him.
Oh, man.
I can't think of anybody else, but it was really disappointing meeting Ace a couple times. He just seemed to not give a crap, which is, I understand. I don't say he's got to be my best friend, but it just seemed like, I'm a big old Kiss fan, but I don't know if I want to hang out with them as people, I don't think,
Yeah. No, I feel that. Sometimes, it's weird experiences like that. What about somebody that was just totally rad?
Totally awesome?
Yeah.
Let me think. Mike Piazza, you ever hear of him, the baseball player?
Hell yeah! I grew up going to his games.
Okay, how about Andrew Dice Clay?
Yeah. I'm actually a stand-up comic too. I follow him.
Okay, so yeah, Andrew Dice Clay. I went backstage with him once. My buddy Jim Florentine opened up for him, and
Nice. He's awesome.
yeah, by the end of the night, Dice and I were just talking by ourselves for like the last half an hour. We just hit it off. We were talking about music, you know.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That makes me happy, man. He always
Yeah,
and Jim Florentine's awesome too.
oh yeah, Jim's a great guy, and I actually sent Dice "Whiskey on My Mind" because his old bass player played on it, and Dice sent the nicest response. He's like, "Man, you're killing it on guitar. I love it. Sal's a great bass. He's such a just a nice guy."
I love it. Dan, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, man. I'm gonna let you go and go rest and hang out with your wife. I'm gonna play this on the radio, and I'll make sure to tag you. I follow you on your social medias, and I can't wait for everybody to listen to your new album, Visioning. It's your choice, man. Is there a specific track you want me to play for the listeners when I air this interview?
Yeah, let's play the title track, the last track on the album, Visioning, if you don't mind.
For you, I do not mind. And last but not least, can you say this is Dan Lorenzo from Patriarchs in Black, and you are listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Hey, this is Dan Lorenzo from the band Patriarchs in Black, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape.
You are the man. Have a beautiful day. You are freaking awesome, and we'll talk another time.
All right, man. It's nice talking to you. I enjoyed it.
You too, mother. Bye.
Bye.